What's up? Welcome back to the channel. So today, we're diving into one of the most underused agents in Valorant, Viper. Now, I know some of you might love her, but let's be honest, she's not exactly the most popular pick right now. In this video, we're going to talk about why Viper's kit just doesn't hit the same as some of the other controllers in the game, especially after some recent changes. Trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for this one. Alright, let's talk about Viper's kit. Now, Viper's all about vision control and area denial, but she's definitely more complicated to use than most other controllers. Let's break down her abilities and see how the recent changes have affected her. First up, let's talk about Toxic Screen. This ability is meant to be a long wall of gas that blocks sight lines and can really disrupt the enemy's positioning. It's perfect for blocking off areas or cutting off vision. So, if you misplace it or use it at the wrong time, you're pretty much stuck with that positioning for the rest of the round. Now, the issue here is that Viper's utility is already hard to manage. Toxic Screen requires precise placement, and with no option to adjust mid-round, you can end up with a wall that's ineffective or even hurting your team. Compare that to agents like Brimstone or Omen, who can drop smokes on the fly and don't have to worry about a wall staying in place if they mess it up. Now, Poison Cloud. This ability used to be pretty handy because you could pick it up and throw it again. But with the change, once you deploy it, you're stuck with it until it runs out. And with Viper needing to constantly manage her fuel, that can leave you in a tough spot if you've already used it and need a smoke somewhere else. It just feels like there's less room for error now. And here's the big one, Snake Bite. This ability has been reduced from 2 charges to 1, which honestly makes a huge difference. Before, you could throw a couple of them out to really control space and slow down the enemy. But now, you've only got 1. It means you have to be way more precise with your Snake Bite placement. If you miss it, well, that's it. It's a lot of pressure on one ability, especially since it's already tough to land in the first place. Now, her ultimate, Viper's Pit, still sounds cool, right? But let's be real, it's hard to make it work. It's still just a glorified smoke, and enemies can easily counter it with flashes and spam you face when in it. If you're not positioned perfectly, you're basically giving the enemy a free round. So, why do we see so few Viper players well? It's not just about her abilities being hard to use, it's also about how easy she is to counter. Let's break it down. Too much setup, too little impact. Viper needs so much setup for her abilities to be effective. Toxic Screen, Poison Cloud, and Snake Bite all require precise placement. And if you mess it up, you're pretty much just waiting for your abilities to recharge. Meanwhile, Brimstone can just drop a smoke, and Omen can instantly blind someone with Paranoia. Viper's kit is slow, and it requires a lot of thinking ahead. Fuel management problems. Viper's fuel management is still a huge issue. She's constantly watching her fuel bar, and if you're not careful, you'll run out of it in the middle of a round. And now, with Poison Cloud being one-ended, you can't just reposition it whenever you want. If you run out of fuel, you're stuck, and that can leave you feeling pretty helpless. Compare that to Brimstone, who can drop smokes anywhere, or Omen, who has teleports and smokes without worrying about fuel at all. Let's take a look at the stats for a second. Viper's pick rate is pretty low, hovering around 10 to 15%. And when you look at her win rate, it's decent, but nothing to write home about. It's clear that, while she can be useful in the right hands, she's just not the go-to pick for most players. And that's because she's too hard to use for the payoff you get. Now, let's talk about Viper's decline in ranked play. Remember when Viper was all the rage in the early days of Valorant? After all those buffs, she was dominating the meta. People were loving her for her area denial and vision control, and it felt like she was going to be one of the top-tier controllers in the game. But now, her usage in ranked has dropped significantly, and there's a reason for that. With all those initial buffs that gave her more power and flexibility, you'd think she'd be one of the top picks. But, in reality, she's worse off than she was at the start. Viper's pet is harder to use effectively now that teams are more prepared for her. And the fuel management? It's still a pain to juggle, especially when other controllers can drop utility without any restrictions. The nerfs to Snakebite and the inability to redeploy Poison Cloud have really hurt her utility. When you look at other controllers like Brimstone with his instant smokes and orbital strike, or Omen with his shrouded steps and teleportation, Viper just feels like a more complicated, less rewarding pick. So there you have it. Viper just doesn't stack up to the other controllers. Her abilities require too much setup, her ultimate is easy to counter, and her fuel management is a constant headache. Sure, she can be fun to play, but when you're trying to win consistently, there are just better options out there. Thanks for watching. If you agree with me, drop a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Viper is still worth picking? Or is she just not cutting it anymore? And don't forget to subscribe for more content. Catch you next time. Peace.